Okay, so we're going to look at how to rearrange for the equations, which we have done before. Again, but it's just we're going to look into it a little bit more in details because we're going to do that in this unit. Okay, we're going to rearrange for a certain letter. Okay, so one way to rearrange equations is to use an inverse operation. Right, so remember that the inverse operation, positive is negative, multiplication is division, and what's the opposite of square? Square root. What's the opposite of cube? Cube root, right? So if you are moving something from one side of the equality to the other side of the equality, you're going to have to do what we call the opposite operation, right? And then you're going to have to follow the reverse order of BEDMAS. Okay, so let's say if you are solving for something, right? So if you have A equals 2 times R plus H, let's say, okay? If you have values for R and H, then what you do 2 times R, then you add H, yes? So you do 2 times, let's say 5, and then you add 7, right? Now, when it comes to isolation, you're going to have to isolate the 7 or the H first because that's the last thing you technically add, okay? So basically, because that's the last thing I add, I get rid of that first, all right? So here's an equation. For each example, isolate for P. So you have A equals P plus I. How do you isolate for P? Move the I to the left side and you have A minus I equals P. Okay? How about in the second equation, you have A equals 2P. Divide by 2 because it's 2 times P. The opposite of multiplication is division. Yeah? So it will be A divided by 2 equals P. Are we okay with that? A equal P squared. Square root of A equals P. Right? Technically, you're square rooting both sides. You're getting rid of the square. Right? That's why you get that. Okay? A equal 2P squared plus I. What's the first thing I want to get rid of? The I. So you bring the I over, it becomes A minus I equals 2P squared. Then what do you do after that? Divide by 2. Okay, eyes on me for a second. So you have 2P squared plus I. If I give you values for P and I, so let's say you have 2 times 3 squared plus 4. What's the first thing you want to do? BEDMAS says exponent before multiplication, yeah? So the first thing I want to do is this 3 squared. So that's the last thing you want to get rid of. That square is the last thing you want to get rid of. Okay? Now, what after I do 3 squared, which I'm going to get 9, what do I do after that? Multiply by 2. So the second thing you want to get rid of is the 2. So that's the first thing. That's the last thing you're going to get rid of, right? And that's the second last thing that you're going to get rid of. And then at last, you're going to do, so you do 3 squared, which is 9, times 2, and then you add 4, right? So because you add 4 last, that will be the first thing that you want to get rid of. Does that make sense? So if you're doing BEDMAS, regular BEDMAS, first thing you want to do is 3 squared. Second thing is you're going to multiply by 2. Third thing is you're going to add the 4, yes? When I'm isolating, I'm going to have to move backwards. So the first thing that I do, it would be the last thing that I get rid of. It's like you're tracking back your steps. Okay? Are we okay with this? Because I see like some kind of like... So what would be the second thing that I want to get rid of here? The 2. So I want to divide by 2, right? And then square root, right? Square root. When I square root, I have to square root the whole thing. So make sure that everything is under the square root. Okay, I want to hear you guys. So you want to isolate. What would be the first thing you want to get rid of? Okay. If you're doing BEDMAS, what do you do first? And then you multiply by 2. Yeah? Because I'm isolating, what do I get rid of first? Nope. You get rid of the 2 first, because whatever you do last is what you're going to do, what you're going to isolate, what you're going to get rid of first. Okay? So, first thing you're going to get rid of the 2, so it's going to be c divided by 2 equals to b minus n. And then bring the n, negative n over, becomes c over 2 plus n equals to b. Okay, now this is a different scenario here. I have c equal bracket b over 2 minus n. If you're doing regular BEDMAS, what do you do first? But everything is inside the bracket. You do the division first, right? So if I give you a number here, let's say if I give you 10 over 2 minus 7, what's the first thing you're going to do? 10 divided by 2, right? So the first thing you're going to do is this, right? And then you're going to subtract n, yes? So when you're doing isolation, that will be the first thing you want to get rid of, then this. Maybe that's what you want to do. Okay, write down what would you do with BEDMAS, and then under it write the reverse way. Okay, so bring the negative n over, so it becomes plus n. Then multiply by 2. But because you're multiplying by 2, you have to put the c plus n in bracket because everything is multiplied by 2. Yes? Did I need the brackets in the equation? Did I need them? No. Right? They were useless right there. Okay, how about the b minus n squared? If you're doing regular BEDMAS, what do you do first? B minus n, and then square. So if you want to get rid of, what do you get rid of first? The square. and then this, yes? All right, so let's do this. So what's the opposite of square? So it's going to be the square root of c equals to b minus n, yeah? Then? So it will be square root of c plus n. So it will be like this. Eyes on the board for a second. It's the square root of c. The square root only goes on top of the c only, because I've already done that operation. Okay? Then I bring the n over, it will be like this. If you write this, that's wrong. Okay? Because that means you brought the n over first, then you square root it, which is not right. Okay? So make sure that you know how to or how long you want this square root to be. It's only the square root of whatever c is. Are we good with that? Okay. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take a couple minutes and try to do this question.